Judgecast.
Welcome to this week's Judgecast Throne Down.
Thrown down, it's a throne down.
For Season 8, Episode 4, The Last of the Starks. Why do I want to say that like Emperor Palpatine, like so bad?
The last of the Stark side. It's the dark side.
We were mostly Stark side.
It was, yeah. I mean, mostly Winterfell, mostly Stark side. But no Starks died. No. Okay. Starks died.
Starks died. Stuck. Oh my god, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. So, yeah, welcome to another Throne Down with myself, Joe Bowden, and this guy.
Jay Taylor.
We've got a lot to cover in this episode. It was, in fact, only 4 minutes shorter than The Long Night.
I know, right? But didn't feel like it didn't feel like an extra long episode, if that makes sense.
No,
like,
but it did feel like it had like two halves to it.
Definitely.
It felt like a cut and shut episode.
Definitely.
I don't mean that derogatorily.
No.
Maybe a little bit, but I don't mean it like it didn't feel like it was jarring. There just were two acts.
Well, I think
what's bigger than an act?
A stanza.
Yeah, sure, two stanzas.
No, but I mean, they kind of had to be. When you look at the kind of how they're breaking down this last season, the first two episodes were the long breath before the long night. Yeah. And then thank you so much for illustrating that. I think, breath is a difficult thing for a lot of people to understand.
Because it could have been a...
Okay, the long intake of breath, sorry. Before the long night, which then obviously was quite an ordeal in terms of, edge of your seat watching, really in depth.
That was the holding of the breath.
No, that was the fight.
Yeah, but you're holding your breath the whole time.
Yeah. And then
I'm going to keep demonstrating breathing.
The beginning of this episode, Joe, was the long gasp.
No, not the gasp.
The sigh of relief.
The sigh of relief. There we
go.
We're in yoga breathing right now. Until there will be no sigh of relief until episode 6 ends, right?
I think so. Yeah,
we're just in deep yoga breathing.
Because also, this is what was really interesting about the way they laid this episode out. That first stanza, half of the episode, you're kind of there going, well, is this it then? We're just going to kind of go, all the North people are going to march south, and it's going to be. You know what I mean? Like, it felt a little bit like, okay, we're all set for the final battle with Cersei, and that's it. And then throughout the episode, they kind of seeded all of the, no, remember, this shit's going on, this person's going on, this person doesn't like this person's got beef with this person, and it was like, oh yeah, we've kind of opened it all back up again.
I guess what used to happen before, like, the whole everyone being in Winterfell thing happened, was that you would just have like a short scene in
one area.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Why does Dawn is always the first place I go?
Straight to Dawn.
And then there'll be, another short scene in the Iron Isles, and then a short scene in King's Landing, and you just jump about. Whereas obviously everyone is in one of two places really at the moment.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of characters and lots of little mini storylines within the overarching ones that we need to kind of check in on after the battle. You kind of like, hang on, who died?
Yeah, that was nice. That was done well.
Yeah.
That
the first of which that really kind of caught me by surprise that I hadn't really thought about was Sansa and the Hound.
Yeah.
I was like, why is she looking at him like that? Does she not like him? Like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, he rescued her back in season 2, 3? It was the Battle of Blackwater, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It was
so season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah.
And I think they did that opening well. It was, so that you had the kind of tribute to the dead, which obviously was a speech written by Tyrion. Jon Snow is not going to come up with that on the hoof.
No.
That was definitely...
Tyrion wrote that, but it was very nicely done.
It was delivered.
I thought the actual funeral scenes, the pyres and everything, was very moving.
It was, yeah. It actually... It hammered it home.
It made me think, I don't think that all the people who live in Winterfell and the surrounding areas, like the your average person, not your lords and ladies, where were their funerals? There were quite a few funeral pyres there, but there were not thousands.
I like to think that maybe they went south of Winterfell for a little while the big actual battle happened, and then you just had the few people in the crypt. But you know, we can quibble over that.
Can we? Can we quibble?
Yeah.
I'd like to quibble.
Quibs.
They were all in the castle, babe, and a lot of them died. There were piles of bodies, and there were not that many funeral pyres.
Yeah, but then if they were turned, and so then they disappeared when the Nightwalker died, Night King.
Oh, okay, that cleans it up.
So actually, there weren't that many who weren't killed by Valerian steel or some other destructive force to the zombie did.
I like that. Yeah,
So,
cool. No,
yeah.
I'm with it.
There you go.
Yeah, nice. Thanks.
Very few bodies.
But then, plot hole.
But oh,
Lyanna Mormont had a funeral pyre, and we saw her be turned into a White Walker. Oh my God!
she is magical. She's
Magical
Lord of the Light.
Lyanna.
Lord of the Light. She is the Lord of the Light embodied.
So they just photoshopped her eyes the wrong
Yeah.
colour. They were
They
supposed
just
to
did
be
it wrong.
fiery, but they came out blue in the render.
But yeah, so then we have this big kind of post-battle scene, which is meant to be full of revelry and kind of
It's the wake.
yeah,
Isn't it?
it's the wake of A, we survived, and B, yeah, kind of tribute to everyone that fought for the longevity of humanity, or
Yeah.
Westerosian
The
humanity, the living. And it was a kind of seemed to be the writers going, right, who has been shipped, and shall we get them together? Because it just seemed to be get them back, get them together, get that. Like we had Arya and Gendry.
But it was that kind of, we're alive. Let's
Yeah.
fuck.
It was basically, yeah. And I'm quite glad that they committed to Arya's character there of like, no, I care for you, and what we did is meaningful, but no, I've actually, my life is a very different path, and I've never been a lady, and yeah, that was nice committing to that.
Totally in her character, but also she let him down gently. Because he was all in, right?
Yeah,
He's like, look, I'm not going to be a what do you call him, blacksmith anymore.
yeah.
I've got a house.
Look at me.
You're going to live in it with me in the arse end of nowhere, I imagine.
Yeah,
Because it's
I'm
called
all good.
Storm's End.
Storm's End.
It's got to be like someplace really bleak, right?
I think it was where Renly was killed in the first season by
That's
the little
pretty
black
bleak.
ghost.
What,
yeah.
in a tent?
Yeah, no, but there was a castle above them, wasn't there?
Oh, that no.
It was pretty bleak.
That's bleak.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah, I mean, it's not much of a proposition.
No.
Sweet though.
Nice.
His heart was in the right place.
But I think this is the thing is there was a lot of shipping, but within the same episode there was a lot of, yeah, we gave you what you wanted.
Is it really what you want?
Is it really what you wanted? Because then look what happens when we take it away. And so you had that moment with Arya. Then we had Jaime and Brienne, which...
Even before that, we had the whole Tormund's heart being broken by
Tormund,
Brienne.
Yeah. So some people are there going, fuck,
Yeah.
but that was never going to happen. She never seemed to reciprocate in any kind of way.
No, not at all.
So I feel like if you were shipping that one, there was maybe a bit one-sided in that.
Totally. So it was unrequited.
But you said at the end of the episode there was a lot you wanted to say about Brienne and Jaime.
Yeah. Okay, so I really thought. No, I really never thought that they do that in the show. I thought Jaime x Brienne was just gonna kind of be this thing, that a fan fiction thing. I didn't think it was ever gonna actually happen in the show. I kind of felt like it's nice, and there was that there's a lovely connection between the two characters and a lovely arc.
Absolutely.
But I just kind of felt like it was never really gonna happen.
I felt it worked very well platonically. Like they had this respect and this admiration and this closeness. For me, I never got a romantic chemistry. I got a really supportive, strong chemistry. However,
yeah, no, I would agree with you until this episode.
And I didn't hate it.
No,
I
not
actually
at all. I think
watched
it worked
and
really
went,
well.
actually, that really works.
Mm.
Later on in the episode, made even more heartbreaking because it was like, you finally got me on board with this, and then
Well, yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm jumping straight ahead.
they've
But
Jaime x Brienne. I believe that's the
Jaime
the ship-
XX Brienne.
Jaime x Brienne. I believe that's the
Okay.
shipping term. and handled it all in one episode. Like, just literally, what they giveth with one hand and they take away with the other.
Yeah, and as I said, I wasn't clamouring for it. Like, I wasn't a shipper. And if you'd maybe told me that they were doing it, I would have been like, no, I don't really see it. But they handled it so well, getting them together. And it actually was really heartbreaking to see that the later in the episode with Jamie leave, and to do that in one episode. Okay, they've got a lot of backstory as characters, but I felt like it testament to, obviously they've got there's chemistry between
Nicola Costa-Waldau and Gwyneth Christie.
Gwendolyn Christie, yeah, because they really sold. I don't know.
It really, really landed as a storyline, however brief it was. Whereas other parts of the episode were a bit pacing wise felt a bit strange. Sorry, did you have more to say about Jamie Expion?
No, I was just about to say, like, I think giving things a bit of time. So the fact that they were able to build up to that, if it had just been right after the battle, Jamie grabbing Brienne and them kissing passionately because they survived, I don't think I'd have bought it. It was the nice way that they kind of had all of these people across the revelries. So you had Jon Snow and Davos and the wildlings kind of having this slightly bro-ish kind of, oh, he rode a dragon, you know, and there was that. And then you had the Lannisters and Podrick and Brienne having this kind of like, and they were playing this drinking game that alluded and built up to Jamie's realization of, oh, actually, you know, there is something. And I felt it was just, it gave everyone a bit of time so that then you did have that payoff. You did have that kind of, actually, that was done nicely, rather than just, oh, quick, get that together. And I think that's a real benefit of the 74 minutes.
Yeah, that really worked. On that, though, Tyrion was a bit of a dick, right, with the game. I just thought that was harsh. Way to make someone feel awkward.
Would agree with you normally, but this episode was 100% Tyrion's.
Oh yeah, no, I love Tyrion. You know, I love Tyrion. He's my bet to be sat on the Iron Throne at the end of all this.
Yeah,
but yeah,
no, he was a bit douchey.
That was a dick move. That was a dick move.
And oh my god, sorry, we've got a lot to talk about dicks, but that will come later in the second stanza. But
okay,
no, it again, that scene really worked. That whole bit at the revelries with Sansa's looks, with all the kind of Daenerys realizing that she is completely alone, basically.
Yeah, that was really hammered home throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Like, she's getting isolated.
Absolutely.
And when people are isolated, they're more likely to do things that are rash
and go slightly mad because you're.
Well, and they do seem to be setting up this whole Daenerys will become like, is it her father or uncle who was the Mad King?
Father was the Mad King. Yeah.
So yeah, they do seem to be setting that up. But at the same time, she does still mostly make really good decisions.
She's
after some consideration, but then we all need to have consideration before we make a decision. You know?
Her heart seems to be in the right place, but her quest to get to that right place means that she is perhaps neglecting the nuances of it.
And some of her original reasons for doing all of this. But at the same time, you can kind of see why she'd start to get a bit peeved at the amount that she has to do to get the throne. When so many people have just been given the throne, aka Joffrey.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I mean, you're moving straight onto the second stanza, and I feel like I want to get there too. But I think there is one scene that we need to talk about before we move on to the second stanza. And it's been this setup from season 8 of Cersei sending the best friend of Tyrion and Jamie, both of them, Bronn of the Blackwater, to kill them. And that was such an odd kind of thing to come up in the first episode of like, what? Like,
and then we just don't see Jerome for like a couple of episodes,
And there was this whole, oh shit, that's Jamie's friend who's done all of this stuff with, and it's Tyrion, you know, the guy who's been not bequeathed to, but like they've had this.
They've always had
thing,
this broship.
Always. And so it was like, oh wow, we're setting this up. And that scene was like, what? It felt like he came in and it was like, I've been paid to do 2 minutes. I will do everything in 2 minutes. It was so quick.
It almost felt like, obviously it wasn't shot this way because you could see from the camera angles they were all in the same room.
Yeah.
But it was almost like they'd shot Jaime and Tyrion's lines and then shot Bronze separately and then hadn't sort of worked out the pacing in between them. He just came in and was at 10.
So quick.
He was Vanjie.
Yeah, he was.
He came in at 10 and he had no place to go.
And he backed out as well.
And then he just backed out of the room. Brian. Brian.
That's it. Okay, we've worked out that's what he was directing.
In which case I'm all in.
Then I'm in. But yeah, it just something about that. And it's the problem with, writing anything of this length and detail is there are always going to be storylines where they either get forgotten or someone goes, oh, quick tie up that because we're not going to bother. Like, it just felt like this was going to have some real weight to it of the way they set it up. And like, I feel like one of the only characters that could have legitimately killed one of those two main actors would have been that. It would have come out of nowhere. It would have been really impactful and shocking. And so this scene just felt like, just write him out quick.
Because it was rushed, yeah. It didn't have the pathos that scene needed.
Yeah.
And thing is, any other time that we've had those characters together in whichever pairing,
yeah,
I could watch them for like,
yeah, they had that.
Like I could have a whole episode of them talking.
It was
like
that real easy.
Yeah, it's really the chemistry's there. The lines are great. You've got a bit of humour. You've got like some insight. It's really, really cool. This just wasn't.
It wasn't there.
It was so strange, and it was really jarring. I'm just like, I don't understand why this is being done like this. And is it to keep it to less than the running time of the long night?
Just even 2 more minutes would have just given that scene just a little bit more
breathing
time
space,
and
so
breathing
that things
space.
The lines that they say that they laid out there on the table, land, and you take them in and go, oh, okay. It was just sort of like,
quick, I'll kill you. No, I won't kill you. Give me what you want. Okay, I'm gone. Done. Okay, great. Well, that was unnecessary, wasn't it? Like,
it was necessary. It just needed more.
Yeah.
More. You need more.
So then on to the second stanza. Which
I feel like there's a couple of things we haven't talked about.
I mean, there is, but I feel like the weight of this.
No, let's talk about every single second. No, okay,
we can talk about the goodbye scene for dogs now.
Oh,
Ghost.
Why did he not say goodbye to Ghost?
You can't.
Yeah, you can.
No,
it's your dog.
Can't.
Oh God, that was so sad.
But it's okay. He survived.
And also,
Ghost's alive, and he's
because
going to
of
go.
the sodding Photoshop issue and how much well, not Photoshop,
CGI.
After Effects, of having the dire wolf look as large as they should. Like, it really pisses me off. We don't get enough dire wolf action.
They're very cute.
They're great.
But hey, Ghost is having a retirement in the north, and that's fine.
Lovely, but we should have had a goodbye.
He's going to ride around.
He deserves a goodbye.
He's going to ride around with giant wolfsbane.
Yeah, nice.
Tormund wolfsbane.
Tormund Giantsbane. We'll get there in the end.
But no, the meat of this episode, and there was a lot going on in that first half that was good and was great, and that, the Stark revelation of the Starks finally finding out, so Arya and Sansa finding out about Jon, and then Sansa keeping the the secret that she's pledged to keep secret for all of 30 seconds, it would seem like.
I mean, no one believed it when she said, I swear, right?
No. I need to know what the secret is before I keep...
Jon just wanted her to say the words, pay lip service to it, then he can, legitimately say, well, she did swear.
You're fucking your own
and it's on her
yes.
that she didn't keep
I'm
it.
I'm telling everyone.
Yeah, I love it when Varys said, it's not a secret anymore, it's just information.
Yeah.
Oh,
more than 10 people.
He gets the best lines. I'm so glad Varys is back, because he wasn't... It wasn't really much he did with him.
No.
With the whole Winterfell battle and preparing for the White Walkers and stuff.
It
was so cool to have him back involved.
They put him in Daenerys' court, but Tyrion was the hand, so he was kind of not he wasn't as an advisor as such, and so it's
Mm.
lovely to have him back because he's got his own agenda again, and that's what he's needed.
Yeah,
he's
but did you think that he would shift away from Daenerys in the way that he did?
absolutely.
Really?
I've been waiting
Because he's a Targaryen. I thought he was always going to be behind her, no matter what she did.
I think he's always come across as he wants for people. He doesn't care for rulers, and that's the whole of this episode.
Mm.
And that's what I'm saying. That second half where you had these brilliant 2-3 scenes with Varys and Tyrion,
Yeah, they were great.
and like that is why we watched the show.
Mm.
Like the battle last week, we loved that episode. If you listen to, we really enjoyed last week. We love the spectacle of it, the fantasy of it, but just something about the plotting, the machinations, the kind of Machiavellian, because it's not real. Because that type of shit is horrible in real life. All of the kind of dodgy dealings in Westminster, in state senates in America, in Russia, in
every country.
in every country, it's horrible when it happens in real life because people will always be downtrodden. It's really interesting to watch fictional because you're going, oh wow, that's really wow, yeah, people do.
And to see it without capitalism involved.
Yes.
It reminded it took me
But
back.
still with monarchies.
It's
and cocks.
oh yeah, totally, yeah. It reminded me of the like the seasons where Daenerys was in charge of I can't remember, it was like a freed slave city.
Yeah.
And you had lots of those great conversations between Tyrion and Varys there.
Yeah, when like the guy brought his
That's
dead
like my favourite part of
his
this
dead
show.
child and was like, your dragons are killing my sheep and my children,
Mm.
like, and you're actually having to deal with like real stuff. And this episode and that the writing seemed to be really back on point.
Yeah.
Like where Varys was they were talking about cocks and
Well, it was about succession, wasn't it? The laws of
and
succession.
well, it's all about cocks, and and it just there
Yeah,
was
like,
some really
I
clever
hardly think cocks have anything to do with it, as I'm sure you'll agree. And it
Yeah.
was like, well, in the laws of
Succession,
royalty,
yeah,
then
exactly.
absolutely they are important.
And so-
And I was like, oh my god, like this, it's so relevant and irrelevant because this is fantasy at the
Yeah.
same time. Yeah.
No, but those types of scenes come across like a bit The West Wing, a bit House of Cards, and a bit Veep or In the Loop. That kind of like there's a bit of humour, a bit of fantasy, a bit of fiction, but also real reality. Like the whole Succession line about cocks could be in The Crown because that's the reality.
Yeah.
If you have a much better ruler that's a woman, the man, it's
Well, they have changed that now, but only in the last, I think, 5 years.
slightly, and still.
I think Charlotte, for instance, Princess Charlotte has as much. Will have
Okay.
succession before Louis, but that is literally in the last, like in my recent memory.
But yeah,
Not that I follow the monarchy that closely.
It's so interesting watching a show that gives time to those types of scenes because of the size of this show, it could so easily not. Like, it didn't need the scenes. It could have just gone, Sansa doesn't like Jon Snow. Like, well, that's all we need, and it just gives that final scene so much gravitas when you know the weight behind Tyrion's decision, when you know how many angles he's having to ponder when he makes a decision to walk past Qyburn and confront Cersei. He's not just dealing with his own family, he's dealing with all of these different outcomes, and I love that. I really...
Yeah, and Peter Dinklage does that so well. Like, he makes thinking visual.
Yeah.
You can see him wrestling with it,
Mm.
even though he might not barely even move. But yeah, it's yes, that. So that scene. Shall we just go there? The final scene.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
No,
All
I
right.
do.
All
I
right, okay,
do,
and that's
but
the end of the episode.
I really...
So that final scene where you've got Daenerys is I don't know what you call them. Why do I want to say enclave? And what's the word?
Little army.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
but you send like a
Yeah, you Environ.
a group.
A group.
She sends a small group, including herself. She mails herself
Yeah.
to King's Landing, and facing up against Cersei and all of her firepower.
Outside, yeah.
That I thought was going to go. Actually, this could sound horrible. I thought it was going to go worse. And that I'm very upset about Miss Missandei. I had really hoped that her and Grey Worm would make it to Narth and live long, happy lives.
I didn't
on an
realise how
island.
much I really like. It was a really emotional, and seeing her up there and just knowing this scene is going to end with her being pushed or shot or killed or something. Like, she is not going to survive this scene. And
Well, Mountain was right behind her.
Yeah,
you know, like,
exactly.
If someone's going to do it, he's going to do it.
And it really packed an emotional punch for me. And considering we'd just seen the death of Rhaegal.
Oh my God, that really,
and it was
that
so
really upset
visceral.
me.
Like,
And that was so quick.
blood and like, yeah, there were some really emotional deaths in this, whilst also kind of, I still don't know. We've got 2 episodes left, and what the fuck is going to happen?
Also, we were all prepared to lose a lot of key characters last week.
But
And
now
this
we've got
week
through,
we were just like, oh, okay, right. So it's going to be kind of a, gearing up, kind of a, take a breath between the Battle of Winterfell and what's obviously going to be the siege of King's Landing.
Yeah.
And so I was not expecting major character deaths today.
And I definitely wasn't expecting them to
really got
actually
me.
confront Cersei. I thought Cersei would be literally out of the picture until whoever got into the Red Keep. I didn't think she'd actually confront.
Yeah, but then we've barely seen Cersei this season, so we all want to see Lena Headey play this character as much as possible, because she obviously will die.
We want as
She has
much
to die.
Cersei as possible, because if I have to see that fucking squid ship guy again,
Euron.
I don't want him on screen.
Pirate tits, I started calling him. I hate him so much. And not just because of his character, I just hate the whole concept of him. He's awful.
Yeah,
I'm
everything
sure we've
about
talked
it.
about this before, but
you don't need another
he didn't have many
Joffrey
lines.
Ramsay.
He didn't have many lines this week, so that was all right.
He had
just
a couple,
stood there looking sinister in his shit eyeliner.
But anyway, so the key thing about this is they did confront. It ended with the confrontation of Cersei. So she's standing there, she's smug. She has got everything. She's got a bigger army now. They've only got one
Everything
dragon.
technically is in her favour right now.
And she knows something that she can turn to Tyrion and go, well, fuck your plea. And so she can rile. She knows what she's doing, riling Dany up. She's turning her into another tyrant, so she can use that. There's a lot going on there, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out, because traditionally next week's episode is the big episode.
So it's the penultimate one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So they always used to do episode 9 would be the Battle of Blackwater, the Battle of the Bastards, the
Red Wedding, I think, was
the Red Wedding.
Well.
It's always a massive thing. And I'm kind of interested that it might not be another big battle. It's going to be more
A stalemate kind
nuance, of like is Dany going to go full tyrant next week, which means that then actually she gets taken out next week, and the final episode is the Starks versus the Lannisters again, with a little bit of help from some Baratheons and some Sparrows and stuff. Because Dany, she's being pushed, and at the moment seems to be going full tyrant, going to go in there with some Dothraki, some Unsullied, and I think Cersei's going to beat her. And so I don't think next week is going to be Dany taking the Iron Throne. I think it's actually going to be the death of...
You heard it here first.
Well, I mean, that's what it seems to be setting up for me. What about you?
Well, I thought it was interesting that when she said, "Have you got any last words? Say them now," to Miss Missandei. What I understood she said was Dracarys, which is like rain fire, right? That's the instruction for Drogon to kill
shit.
So I would read that as Daenerys is now thinking, I've lost one best friend in battle last week.
Mm-hmm.
My other best friend has just died, and her dying words were rain fire.
2 of my children are dead.
2 of her kids are dead.
Her
dragons. She's going to go full pelt. You could see it. There was reason just left because she's
and that's why
Tyrion's face now.
Tyron's face just dropped.
Yeah,
It's
and as you say, Cersei knew exactly what she was doing. I just don't think Cersei will make it to the final episode.
What? Then what is the final episode? Just like
it's the coronation of Tyrion,
and the beginning of the Lord of the Rings in like Hobbit, which is all green and la la la.
And then, it was Catelyn Moran this week on Twitter suggested that it's all gearing up to the final scenes are Samwell Tarly writing the history. And he is George R.R. Martin. If that happens, I'm kicking off. This microphone's going through the TV screen. I will not be happy.
No. I think, as I said, I think next week, elements of battle, but much more kind of plotting and machinations. Dany will end up dying in her tyrant rush towards killing something, which is exactly what Tyrion...
I think she will die. I'm not saying but I don't think Cersei will survive.
I think Cersei will survive, and then I think the final week will be basically back to that core first episode. Jaime and Cersei, the fallout of that. Tyrion, his rise from the drunken imp to becoming the most empathic...
powerful
and empathic people. Sansa and Jon, so Jon will become some kind of king and Sansa will become Lord of the North. I want there to be a bit more than that. I want there to be something that kind of still shocks me, because that's what we want from this show. I
made a prediction maybe 2 years ago.
That's up to me. Sorry, I'm just saying that's not their fault. That's our fault that we want to be shocked.
Totally.
Yeah.
I made a prediction a year or two ago that maybe this is actually all about republicanism versus monarchy.
Yep.
Or democracy versus monarchy, where I don't know how we
heard it here first.
So there is still the option that no one sits on the throne. The throne is burnt, melted down, and made into something that would be peaceful.
One of those drums that people play in Glastonbury.
Shot put, so they can have Olympic games.
Like a little djembe.
A djembe. It could be so many things. Is that not a djembe?
What's the one that sounds like rain? It's like and you play with your thumbs.
Yeah, that would be nice. Musical instruments.
And it ends with someone. It ends with the composer. And it's like, while Sam's writing the story.
That is an amazing impression of one of those, whatever those instruments are called.
Sorry.
You heard it here first. That is how it goes. Either Daenerys gets taken out, Cersei gets taken out, or everyone dies, the people take over, and there is democracy, but no party politics. Everyone just lives and gets on with their lives.
Well, I mean, you heard it here first.
We've blasted it wide open. Wide open.
2 more episodes. We are super excited. We really love hearing from you guys on Twitter and social media. We've had some great comments this week from people who are watching and listening with us.
I love hearing all these different ideas people are having. It's like,
so exciting.
It could go anywhere.
Yeah. Are the last of the Starks? Is that the thing of April, May 2019? Is the last of the Starks? Is Stark becoming a thing?
What are you saying?
I don't know.
Are you saying because Arya has given up her right, not her right, but her sort of last name? Bran.
Well, why is she giving up her last?
Well, she's a faceless one. She's a faceless
Bran is no longer. So
Bran has given up the name. Sansa. So maybe it's all about Sansa.
It's all about Sansa.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot here. And we're really excited. And it's been lovely to have that thing of we maybe became a little bit negative about this show, and I'm really enjoying tuning in every week now. I'm really excited, and it's lovely watching that kind of must view TV and getting to know it with you guys. So yeah,
I'm thinking we'll run a poll. Let's run a poll on Twitter or on Instagram to get like a general feeling of how people think this is going to go next.
Yeah, because all the key players are still here. That's the interesting thing. Is somehow,
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie.
Oh, Jamie.
Oh, God, Brienne's face.
Anyway, join us next week as we discuss the next episode, which I don't believe there is a release title, is there?
We never look at the release title before.
Because spoilers. We'll just create a whole new narrative. Yeah. So, join us next week. Thanks for listening. And
Thrones cast. It's a thrones down. 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 It's a thrones down.